into the chat as you think about them. Okay, and then we will monitor it, and we'll try and answer some of them during the session. But obviously, with only half an hour, I want to make sure I give you as much as I possibly can, and we'll have a couple of questions at the end. But for now, let me share my screen and get this underway. Okay, so yes, I've nicked one of their little logos to let you know where you are. Come on. What's going on here? Okay, so just to give you an idea of the size of LinkedIn Beast, I always like to let people know what sort of size platform that they're on. These are the figures that come out of LinkedIn, and we have allegedly 1.22 billion user accounts in 200 countries. Anything wrong with that? There aren't 200 countries in the world, and actually the 1.22 billion is also not strictly true. What it means is that's the number of people that joined LinkedIn since it started. And it started back on May the 5th, 2003. It's been around for that length of time. But there is lots of people on there, hundreds of millions. And we are adding around about 5.5 people every second to the platform. And in this country, the statistics are 43 million people on LinkedIn. 33.7 of those being in England. Again, 43 million means that virtually everyone from the age of 16 to 64 is on LinkedIn. So again, not strictly true. I always say if you see any of these sort of high statistics from LinkedIn, you're half and you're probably closer to the truth. Well, let's crack on and just go through. LinkedIn is both a website. Your profile is a page on a very large website indeed, but also don't forget it's a database. Yeah, and that's part of the reason it's grown so much, is it's become a database of lots and lots of people, lots of companies, and lots of information, and therefore it is searchable, and therefore keywords are very important. Just a quick guide on that. Think about what people will put in the search engine that will find you. Okay, so you need to do some keyword research around what it is you want to be found for. For instance, I'm a LinkedIn profiler, LinkedIn expert, are my two main titles. You'll find that those two words are throughout my actual profile. So they'll be in my headline, they'll be in my about section, my experience and my skills, all the areas that LinkedIn look for them. So I come up very high in the search ranking. So just do a little bit of research, what you want to be called. And then we've got this. 7-second syndrome is one of my talks. And the first thing I have to say to the audience is actually, it's not true. Attention spans have shrunk. And as I say, I look back in January this year and Forbes did release a white paper saying that it can be as low as half a second. And I work in schools, and therefore I know that with Gen Z, it's about 1.7 seconds. It's the initial attention span, okay? You can get them hooked, then they will hang around. If you don't get them hooked, yet they may just disappear off somewhere else. What happens in those, but keep it at 7 seconds, let's be optimistic. You may come up in the search, as I say, if you've got your keywords right, people may find you for what it is that you do. They only see 3 things because they won't have time to scroll. 7 seconds is not going to give you much chance to scroll. They're probably going to be using their phones as well. About 70% of people are using their phones. So they can only see what we call the top card, which is the banner, the image that sits right across the top, your headshot, which is buried in the left-hand side, and then your name and the headline that sits underneath it. In that 5 or 7 seconds, they are going to judge you. Unfortunately, I hate the word, but it's correct. They're going to judge you. And based upon what they think, they may then scroll down to see more about you. If you've hooked them, they see what they want to see. So it's about them, not you. Or they might just scroll away, maybe to one of your direct competitors, someone you don't want them to go and speak to. But we want to make them stick around with us. That's the important thing. So get the top of your profile engaging. It's essential. Actually, you may have a wonderful LinkedIn profile below that original top card, but if they're not scrolling down, they're not seeing it. So it doesn't really matter. So it's really, I can't underline the importance of this. And it is anybody on LinkedIn in any industry, anywhere in the world. So I work all over the world. And I say to them, you know, that first 5 to 7 seconds could determine whether the person engages with you or not. Obviously, we want engagement. That's what it's all about. But this is what it looks like. This is a snapshot of one of mine. When I say one, because I do change mine regularly. And actually, tinkering, finessing LinkedIn is actually a very, very good idea. Okay. It is something that makes LinkedIn know that you're on their platform, in which case that is only a good thing for you. But when they do land on it, as I say, they're possibly using their, well, actually, probably with 70% of people doing mobiles now. We also need to consider that they are visually orientated. 70% of people are visually orientated. They see visual things first, in which case the banner does take on a rather large importance because it's at the top, it's quite big, and it's the first visual thing. So the banner is the first thing that they would see. I call it a headshot because, again, going back to the people using their mobiles, if you have too much of your body in it, are they going to be actually be able to make out your characteristics? Potentially not. And therefore, I always say to people, it's probably better to have a headshot. We need to see your eyes for trust. We need to see your smile. We need to know what you look like. So headshot rather than profile picture is how I like to word it. I talk about pronouns. LinkedIn introduced this, only done on the app. Scroll down on the app when you go and edit your profile. I just want to point out to people that below the he and him and she and her, there is a custom version. As you can see here, my pronouns are educator and speaker, which obviously are not pronouns. Perfectly legal to do it. And it gives people, when they view me, a bit more information other than the fact I am a he and him. Some people will just use pronouns in there. It's absolutely fine. I'm just making people aware there is an option. Headline, very important, because although I have lots of words on my banner, they're not words. They're still images. Bots cannot read them, but yes, they certainly can here. You'll also see that I will have some of my keywords in there. So the headline is very important. Web link, that's just a premium feature, which is probably going to disappear going through. But also, there's an audio, loudspeaker. It's name pronunciation, what LinkedIn officially call it. Again, it's done via the app. You can't do it via the desktop. And for those of you who have hard to pronounce names, absolutely ideal so people know how to approach and speak to you. But they've allowed 10 seconds. Now, for me as a speaker, wow, that gives me opportunity to do a bit more than just say my name. And therefore, I always say to people, take the opportunity of maybe telling people a bit more about what it is you can do for them. Turn it into an audio headline. And mine, something like Tony K. Silver, LinkedIn profiler, showing you how to spend a lot less time on LinkedIn, but get some real world results. And again, it can be changed. It doesn't have to stay that. It's a nice little add-on that I think can be used for more than just the name pronunciation side of it. And we have the action buttons to sit across the bottom. So yeah, ensure your banner tells your story. Well, yeah, it's the first thing they see. So we kind of need to make sure that they have something that interests them. So this is what LinkedIn give you. Nice shades of gray. I'm sure the intern really enjoyed making this. Doesn't tell the viewer absolutely anything about what I can do for them. And that's the important thing. They're probably coming on with the what's in it for me. And therefore we need to tell them. Okay, we need to find out what is in it. So realistically, this is my banner, or one of my banners, because I do change them. Yeah, if you've got a company logo, it's nice to have it in there. But I think the real important things is what I am. People kind of need to know what you do and how you go about it. Okay, so what I am and what I do are the two main things that they're really interested in. Nice imagery is good, it helps them. There's a nice little microphone in there because I'm a speaker. But actually, that's the bit they're interested in. That's why they would potentially scroll down, because they've identified that they're interested in learning about LinkedIn, and I show them how I can potentially help them. Now, this little bit here means that I have got the ability to put in a carousel. It's a premium function. It's not available to the people in the standard version, which is most people. Okay, so you probably need to make sure that your one banner tells people as much as possible, but doesn't overdo it. Because if you make the text too small, people will not be able to read it on the phones. So again, I always say to people, Go and have a look at your own profile on your own phone. Can you clearly see everything? First of all, is the text too small? You can't read it. But also this area here, you notice I have deliberately not got anything in there because on the mobile, my headshot is about 75% of the height, not just 55. It is in there. So again, have a look at it. Make sure you're not hiding anything. Professional looking headshots. Yeah, it doesn't have to be taken by a professional, but it needs to look. So these sort of things are what I've seen over the years, and I've put a big X in the corner because they don't work. They don't tick the box. This is, as I say, on this one, you can imagine looking at that on your phone. It is going to be a lot smaller because screens on your phone's a lot smaller anyway. The chance of you being able to make out this guy's actual characteristics, his eyes, any of that, none at all. Really messy backgrounds, hands in pockets. This really doesn't work for me in any way whatsoever. Second one was someone trying to be clever. They were a mobile communications expert. These are mobile phones, and those are them in their packets. Although one student did ask me, was this a drug dealer? And that's his burner phones and that's his stash, which probably wasn't what he was looking to portray. And this one is, again, someone trying to be clever. If you're a movie buff, you may have come across Kingsman, Gallard's main character, and he wears glasses. I am connected to some very famous people. He isn't one of them. And actually, the profile this came from is nothing to do with the film, and it's not even an optician. What on earth they were trying to do, I don't know. What we need to look for is something like these. These are fulfilling what works. You notice they've all got eye contact. They're not trying to look away from you, etc., etc. They've all got a bit of a smile. They're not maniacally grinning at you. They've all got plain backgrounds, so actually their headshot pops. It's nothing too messy to distract you. And what you don't know, because obviously you never met these people, if you did meet them, and if I introduce you into the stream today, that is what they look like. And I say to people, if you change the way you look, I grew a beard in lockdown. I've kept it, and therefore I changed my profile picture to reflect that. There's nothing worth in going on a Zoom call and looking at a LinkedIn profile and looking at the camera and thinking, am I in the right room? Have I clicked onto the right thing? Because the person looks nothing like it. Not a good idea, because it starts putting doubt in people's minds about the rest of your LinkedIn profile also being not quite right. So yeah, we need to do that. Yeah, your headline is not always your job title. For some people, it will be. So back in the day, these were acceptable. Actually, these were the only thing you could really do because the amount of characters were minimal. But nowadays, no. Regional director at Alpha Group International doesn't tell me much at all. HR director tells me even less. What we're looking for is something 220 characters. That's your limit, which is about 3.5 lines on a 15-inch screen. It needs to tell people what you do, how you go about it. I also suggest it's a good idea if you can put some credibility in there to make you stand out from other people. But there's 220 characters. Like most things on LinkedIn, you probably won't get it right first time. That is not an issue. As I say, the more you're on LinkedIn tinkering, have a go, put it up there, have a look at it for a week later, go, doesn't quite work, go and change it. It doesn't matter. That kickstarts the algorithm every time you go on LinkedIn and make some changes. Luckily, all your connections do not get to hear about it unless you change the settings. Back in the old days, it did, and that was rather annoying. So yeah, tell people what it is you do, how you go about it. So those 3 elements really are there to make sure that the person scrolls down to see more about you. If they scroll down, your about section is where they go. It is the most important part of LinkedIn. Okay, this is a summary of what you do and how you go about it, you and your company, you as an individual. But it is split into two sections. Now, if you go into it today, LinkedIn is glitchy as hell at the moment in time. If you've had problems this week, yeah, you're not the only one. I have as well. Yesterday, this is exactly what it looked like. The little dot see more appeared on the end of the 4th line, which is where it should be. Okay. Today, when I've turned it on, it's actually at the beginning of the 4th line, and the C seems to have disappeared. It just says ... more. But whichever way they've set it up, they should return to this correct version. I think that those first 4 lines need to talk to the viewer. So going, I do this, I do that, me, probably not a great idea. it's probably better to put something in there that is talking to your ideal client, employer, wherever it is you're trying to reach out to. So a mixture of I's, a mixture of U's. You can ask paying questions. You know, some of these here are directly aimed at, are you getting the desired outcomes from your LinkedIn profile? Well, hopefully the person that looked it up is looking for some help, in which case that question means a lot to them. No, they're not. So when we get to here, they do actually want to change it. Therefore, they want to push to see more, to find out more about what I can do to help them. It's 2,600 characters long, your about section, so it's quite a weighty piece. So what we need to do is make sure we've got some white space. Okay, we don't want it too heavy. I have been told by some professional copywriters that you can probably do it in 2 or 3 paragraphs and it be grammatically correct, etc., etc. But it looks heavy. Would you want to read it? You probably wouldn't. So white space is a good thing. It's your friend. So is bullet points. I know they're old-fashioned, but believe me, I'm a trained speed reader. And if I'm speed reading, which means I'm reading down the center of the screen and filling in the gaps in my brain, that when I see a bullet point, it stops me on track to read it. Now, I could put these things all into some sentences in a paragraph. There's less chance of it being read than if it is in bullet points. Also, it's a good way of highlighting some of your specialities and also potentially the benefits of using you over other people, because you will not be the only person in this search. If you can use analytics, statistics, positive stuff, I help people, and you can put a figure to it, grow, sell, whatever it is they're involved in. That's always quite nice as well. The 2 other things I always suggest people consider, and that's my training word, is this about section, however long it is, and 2,600 is a limit, it's not a target. It's us telling people what we do, and we do need to do that, absolutely, but they could go to the bottom and go, so what, this is just this person telling me, why would I believe them? So I honestly, seriously think that putting a testimonial into your about section is really useful. It's social proof. That's the important thing. It's social proof. Someone else saying, yes, this person does deliver. So on mine, I've gone for Santander. Global Bank says I'm really good at what I do. Really helps me when someone lands on my profile and goes down. There's no idea who I am, but kind of knows what I do, and then sees that sort of social proof. Quite powerful, certainly helpful. And then the one I get really sort of Humpty Dumpty about, miserable old Git syndrome, kicks in for me, and that is call to action at the bottom. However long it is, I get to read it and I'm going, I'm quite interested in what this person does, and perhaps I want to reach out to them and discover more. And there's no clear call to action. Just tell the people what you want them to do and how to go about it. I would always defer to email. It's not clickable, so bots can't read it. But as I had yesterday, people had DM me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Well, unfortunately, because LinkedIn runs this first, second, and third tier, then actually 95% plus of LinkedIn cannot actually message you, connect with you, because they are third line connections and they do not have the ability, unless they go and buy premium and they have a limited amount of emails and they may run out of those as well. So it's easier to just to say, put it in there. If you've got a phone number and it's answered by a human being, yeah, absolutely put it in there. Direct people at your website. I always question, what does that actually achieve? But also, yeah, if you've got a booking link to come and book an appointment to talk to you, that's also quite nice to have in there. Okay, so yeah, here we go. Examples, nice testimonials in there, gives them social proof, which I think is really, really powerful. Now, LinkedIn came into being, as I say, back in May 2003, and has changed dramatically over the years. It was really an online CV, bit of a Rolodex back in the day. Even the company page didn't come in, or the education page. Well, the education page was even later. The company page was 2010 when that came in. And lots of other sections have changed, been added to. This one in particular, I always say to people, it is probably the best section that was never there at the beginning, that LinkedIn have added. I love it because it can do so many different things. This is what it looks like when you've had one and put it up there. But the controls when you first add it, and the way to add any section from LinkedIn is when you look at your own profile at the top, you've got add profile section. or if you look at it today, it might just say add section because again, they've got that glitch going on at the moment. But you go into there, give you a whole list of sections you can add. And I always say to people, any sections you can justifiably add, then I definitely would, okay? Because it gives you better search rankings. But this one is fantastic, not just for that, but for giving people some more information. When you hit this plus button, it allows you to do a multitude of things. You can pin a post in there. So if you've done a post, obviously posts on LinkedIn, go out, certain amount of people will see them disappear. In here, you can pin it in here. You can put links to your websites in here, and it's the safest place on LinkedIn to do it. You can bring media in. You can bring this slideshow presentation I've got here. I could put that in there. I could put images in there. I could put documents, Word documents, PDFs. And the bit that actually, when you click on it, it tells you this, but one area they don't mention is actually you can put video in here. As long as all these things are coming off your desktop. You cannot put a link into Vimeo and all the video like, because LinkedIn doesn't like those platforms. You're going away from something they don't like. But also, you can edit it. You can bring stuff in. There's an arrow there which will tell you that I've got more than 3 items. Actually, you can give you a little bit of a hint there. I can go in, I can change the order. So this is not what you will see if you go and look at my profile today. I keep moving it around because I want to make sure what's in my feature section is relevant to today. And I think, as I say, it is the best section you will get to add to LinkedIn. Yes, there's lots of stuff you can put in there. I say there's a multitude of things. That's the bit. Add profile section sits at the top. As I say, today mine says add section because of the glitch, etc. When you go into it, yeah, these are the options. So most of the core stuff you already have, and then it gives you others such as recommended, and that's where the feature one comes in. Licenses and certificates, yeah, if you have got a license to do what you do, so the accountants and solicitors of this world, definitely. Any projects you worked on, nice to put those in there. Any courses you've done which help you do your job. And then there's additional ones down the bottom, which are, yeah, they're useful to have. They add to the overall feeling of what you can do on LinkedIn. But be active or fade away. Now we're going to touch on activities. You need to be active on LinkedIn. It's the fuel that drives it. But what do you need to do? Well, yeah, absolutely posts are the thing that most people do. I suggest you look at writing articles, but probably once every couple of months. It doesn't need to be as regular as posts. Certainly get involved in groups. Go and find some groups where you think is a good place for you. And then, yeah, interact with your feed. You know, if you're not posting, certainly go in and have a look at your feed and make those comments and like things, etc. It's definitely worth doing. Around posts, I get asked questions a lot on posts. In an ideal world, which I've never found, 2 or 3 posts a week is nice. But it's what time of day, what day of the week, things like that I get asked regularly. And actually, I always go back with the word context. Well, you need to find out when your audience consumes. And I use myself as a prime example. I'm working with your good self. So you're in the UK, I work in Europe. 10 o'clock mid-morning, yeah, absolutely fine. But I work a lot in America, and at 10 o'clock in the UK, it's 5 a.m. in New York. They're not going to be looking at my posts. I work in education. Again, hopefully teachers are in the classroom at 10 o'clock in the morning. So you need to find when people are actually doing their looking and going through their feed on LinkedIn. Because the important thing is that whenever you post on LinkedIn, first of all, excuse me, it only goes out to 8 to 10% of your connections. And it's monitored for the first hour and then scored. And the scoring has nothing to do with views and impressions. I'm sorry, people. If you've got 5,000 views, it's very nice, but doesn't really mean a lot. It's the people that are commenting, reposting, and liking it. It's your scoring. And if you get enough points at the end of that hour, LinkedIn will promote it to further, give you more reach, get it out to more people, which is vital. It's an engagement platform. So posts, definitely, but you need to consider what is best for you. Starting a post, it comes here. There are various different things you can do. You go into post, you can post from a company page, you can post from yourself, and you can actually go into the settings and post to just your connections rather than everybody as well. Social proof is powerful, as I said before. Excuse me. LinkedIn has its own recommendations. It's down the bottom. I don't think people scroll that far very often. But secondly, it takes a bit of a habit to keep it going. But if you've got something like this showing to the outside world, and that's now 9 years out of date, it could make people think, well, what's the person been doing for the last 9 years, not been delivering, etc. So I certainly think that actually putting that social proof in your about section is possibly more powerful, unless you're willing to put the time and effort into it like I do, which means I've got a shed load of recommendations, but I also use that as part of my marketing. A good example, yeah, when I took this slot, that was up to date, and that's what we want. Things that are up to date and decent, but we also need a decent length. When you go in and use a recommendation template, ask people what you want them to do. Don't put the wording in for them, and then you get a decent one rather than just a couple of lines, which is not doing you a massive amount of favors. So social proof is powerful. The search on LinkedIn, just about to change, but for now, I strongly suggest that when you go in there, you look for keywords and try and track people down using keywords. Last few things, feed, 3 dots, discover the 3 dots on your feed, because there are many, many options, such as you can save it and look at it later if you haven't got time, and it's in there. I will be giving a set of these slides to, so people can have them, and it's being recorded as well. When you do a post, when you click the X button, it no longer deletes. You do have a chance to save it as a draft, or if you're not around, you can schedule it to go out when you want it to go out if you're not at the office at the time. And the final one, notification bell. And anyone that uses the first sign connection or follows you have a notification bell down here. It's that most relevant, which is the standard one, which you'll see. But if you are wanting to find out more about what the person's doing, they're posting, supporting them, prospecting them, whatever it is, you can set it to all. You can change it back. When it says all, actually, I'm of the opinion that it should say most, because I don't think it does all. But it allows me, David is a very close friend of mine, every time he posts, I get notified about it, which means I can go and add to his posts. So that's where you click it. Housekeeping, last thing, go and have a look at I'll stop sharing now. The settings and privacy on LinkedIn. On the little me icon at the top where you've got drop down and view your own profile, just go a little further and settings and privacy. Click on there. It opens up a brand new page. And on that brand new page is lots of different settings that you can change. Go and have a look at the data one, because it allows you to download a copy of your data, because despite what most people think, actually you own your data on LinkedIn. They don't. And therefore, I strongly suggest that you go and download a copy regularly, just in case for some reason you lose access to it, and it can happen, believe me. So settings and privacy, definitely worthwhile looking at. Other things that can help your overall experience with LinkedIn are in there as well. So I haven't left much time for questions, but there's no questions in the chat room. Is there any? Look. Okay, so yeah, let's open it up. Any questions before we end this session? But as I said, if you think of anything and we switch this off, if you can go back through people that have organized this and ask them, they will get the questions to me and I'll get the answers back to you through them.
Thanks, Tony. That was really helpful. You've got a couple of questions come through. One from Eleni. What CPD registry would you recommend to use to register training accreditation that covers all platforms, including LinkedIn, Alt, JISC sessions attended?
Don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I just deal with LinkedIn. This is a question outside my remit. No, sorry, I can't answer that. I can look into it, but I don't have the answer for that, unfortunately.
No worries. We can always get the conversation flowing online as well on social media if people want to get involved in that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the recording will be going to. I will be providing a set of slides as well, so you can have those. Again, that is definitely what we plan to do, as I say. And also, I've offered as I say, to answer your questions that you think about after we shut the session down, to answer those. I mean, I will look into that CP registration, but it's not really the area I get involved in. To register training accreditation, yeah, it's not nothing really directly to do with LinkedIn, so I wouldn't know the answer to it, I'm afraid. Might have to ask your hosts; they may have more influence in that area than I have.
Perfect. I'm going to stop the recording now.